Hello everybody, my name is EvolvedPixel, and as you might have already guessed, we are doing something very different today. For a start, this whole thing is scripted rather than live, and today we're talking about Action Man? Well, first let me explain what this series is, which isn't really that easy. After all, I'm not entirely sure what this is, but I know what I want it to be. Simply, I just want it to be a place where I can look at and talk about video games in a way that isn't just a live first time reaction. Simple, right? Well, with that out of the way, let's talk about why the first game I chose was this game. The game is called Action Man Mission Xtreme, and it's based around the popular franchise of action figures. For those of you who don't know, Action Man basically serves as the UK equivalent of G.I. Joe, and those brands are actually connected, and the game was based on that. As to why I chose it for this video, the game means something to me personally. This was the first console game I ever played, back on my old PlayStation 1, and I loved it then. When I found it gathering dust, I wanted to see if I could still enjoy it now. After eventually managing to get my PlayStation 3 working and recording, and god that was a struggle, I was greeted with the familiar sound and logo of the PlayStation and then straight into the game. We were brought into a menu that looked better than expected, but certainly felt immediately PlayStation 1. I'm getting Tomb Raider vibes from this place, but I wasted no time just getting into the game. The first level reminded me a little of the old Grand Theft Autos, but I have to admit I found the controls surprisingly responsive. I expected bad quality controls, but nothing. As it turned out, I had been deceived because I just had to wait for the bike to get the bad quality controls. It honestly felt like the bike section was designed to make you break your controller. It moves so badly that it feels like it was trying to suggest that Action Man was completely off his face drunk. Fortunately, we did get to move on to the Jeep, and after beating a boss battle that felt way too easy to be considered a boss battle, we moved on to the next level. It seemed simple enough, and it also gave you a chance to play with the third-person shooter controls, which unfortunately turned out to be pretty clunky. Again, you want to forgive it for its age, but then I remember something. Tomb Raider is older than this game. Yeah, turned out the shooter controls were just bad, but the level was good, if a little repetitive. And I got to fight a tentacle plant-based monster without making a single sex pun. So I suppose there's a point to me there. Oh, and there's also a giant robot spider, but there's no good puns there. Next we got back to using vehicles, and this time we were in the air. Remember how I said that the motorbike drove like Action Man was drunk? Well, that's okay, because the helicopter flies like Action Man was drunk and also bound. This area didn't feel much different from the last one, other than the fact it was even harder to control. Fortunately, this one was over with pretty quickly, and I got on to the next level where the difficulty seemed to really spike. The bosses themselves were pretty easy, one being a robot you had to drown and one being a VTOL plane, but the level itself seemed a little more complicated. I enjoyed it, but there were certainly moments that were frustrating. Oh, and I hate the electrified floor. It's trying to turn this game, which is way too clunky to be a platformer, into a platformer. I actually kind of like the final level, or the final vehicle level we have moved into. The snow and snow-based vehicles made a nice change of pace, up until the point of having to go underwater. At this point I knew drunk Action Man had made a return, but it gets worse. Seems like we finished the underwater and we're back to normal, and then there's the boss. Yes, we have to fight the boss underwater. Honestly, it's not so much that the controls are bad, but rather they're sluggish. I don't know if this what passes for underwater realism when this game was created, but I don't like it. But here we are, the final level. Yes, this game only has 6 levels. What were you expecting? Hardly a AAA release. The game seems to make a point of telling you so many times how much harder the enemies were, like the snow soldiers. But honestly, I couldn't see the difference. There seemed to be a lot more enemies to fight, but other than that, it was relatively easy. Of course, I forgot part of the necessary key and had to go back, but you cannot blame the game for the fact that I was an idiot. You can blame the idiot. It was nice, after playing the game for so long, to finally see Dr. X. After all, he is supposed to be Action Man's major enemy, and yet this is literally the only time we see him. He is here for one boss battle, and then gone, as if he never really mattered at all. Now, do I really care about that? No, not really. But I imagine the kids for who this game was originally designed for probably did. It seems like a mysterious decision to take someone whose face literally takes up half of the cover art, and then have him in it for just one battle. So, this game, how did it age? Do I understand why I enjoyed it as a kid? Yes, I do. Of course I do. At the time, I had played very few games, none on a console, and to me this felt incredible. I got to shoot bad guys and drive cars and save the world. For a child who has never played on a console before, this would have been incredible. Unfortunately, I am no longer that child, and I can be a lot more critical. So how does this look to adult me? How would adult me rate this? Honestly, the best I can give it is an alright, a meh. The graphics is obviously not good as it's an old game, but there were games back then that were outpacing it. The same can be said about the controls, which always felt a bit slow and a bit sluggish. Tomb Raider certainly never did, and that game is older. The sound is okay, but the voice acting? Oh my god. I understand that voice acting in video games then was a lot less of a glamorous job, and so the quality was lower, but Jesus, I could do a better job. That's saying something. Would I recommend buying this game? Yeah, maybe. Honestly, it depends on a few things. Are you a fan, or were you once a fan of the franchise? Then sure. Have you just walked past the shop and you see it for a few pounds, dollars, or whatever currency you have? Sure. But if you're looking for a really great retro game to get you into 90s gaming, I'd give this one a skip. But what I would like to know is what your opinions are, so please leave them down in those always useful comments below. My name is EvolvedPixel, thank you so much for being here, and I'll hopefully see you very soon.